In this class, let's time the slot machine animation to the transition and also add some extra elements, extra animation on the slot machine to make it more fun. If I turn off the solo icons here, we can see the whole animation going on. So we just need to time the slot machine with the background once we have the transition happening. And then that's when we have the slot machine coming in. We can move them forward a little bit. So the transition happens and then we have the slot machine coming in, building up, and then we have the demo reel text, and then we have the animation of the name. Let's save it and see what it looks like. That's how we time it. We just need to move everything forward, the slot machine animation forward in time to time it with the transition. That's nice. Another thing I want to do is I want to group all these 3 layers of the slot machine, Command-Shift-C, to make a new composition called slot machine. And in order to know where it gets started, I want to cut this layer, Option left square bracket over here. That's the time where the slot machine starts coming into the scene. Next, I want to add some extra elements on the slot machine to make it more fun. Let's try a position change. Hit P on the keyboard and then go to separate dimensions. So this is going to be the end position of the slot machine when it builds up. So I want to add a Y position keyframe. But from the start, I might just want it to go from the bottom over there and then comes up as if it's being thrown into the scene. So at this point here, I want it to come all the way too much. Come up like this. So from outside of the scene, go up too much and then land into the middle of the screen. Let's go to right-click the 3 keyframes, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, and then let's go to the graph editor. In this case, I want to use the value graph. Let's hit value graph and then fit the graph to view. In this case, I want to have more of a thrown effect. I want the slot machine to be thrown into the scene and then maybe land in the center, accelerating like this, a curve like this, and then maybe bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bounce a little bit, hold down Command, add a keyframe over there. So what I did is I can add keyframe on the graph editor. Now I have this timeline indicator at 3 minutes, 3 seconds, 17 frames. And then I can hold down Command, add a keyframe over here. And that's how you add a keyframe. In the graph editor, I want to drag these curves, make sure I have a bounce animation for my slot machine. Go for 3 frames, maybe add another bounce. Just make sure I drag these handles. And then if the handle doesn't break up, just hold down Option key. It's going to break up the handle. So this is what I want. I also want the slot machine to hang in the air over here. So yeah, I think this kind of curve works better. So if I have the curve like this, I want the slot machine to be thrown up into the air and also hang in the air for a little bit and then drop down with the bounce in the center. Something like that. Right now, it's a little bit too dramatic. I want the bounce to be more subtle. Let's reduce the size of the bounce a little bit and see what happens. Yeah, that works better, I think. Command S for save, and then Shift R. I also want to add a rotation. So when the slot machine being thrown up in the air, it's going to rotate first like this from a -30°, rotate like this, and then it's going to rotate this way, and maybe do some overshoots, and then 3, 0. Thrown up in the air, turns, land, overshoot, bounce a little bit. Let's go to the graph editor, keyframe assistant, easy ease, go to this graph editor, and then drag these curve a little bit to give it more energy. Like I said, I don't want to go too deep into the curve in this class because this is a beginner class. These are very simple keyframes that you can do and follow along. If you want to know more about the graph editor and how to make your animation lifelike, bring life to your animation, you can check out my other class on graph editor, how to use speed graph, how to use value graph to bring life to your movement. So that's going to be a more in-depth class that you can learn from it. For now, we're just touching base on how to use graph editor in a simple scenario like this. So this part is a little weird. I might need to adjust like this. Or I can delete this one. Let's see. Yeah, I think that works. It's being thrown up and then comes up like this and then drops, bounce a little bit, and then like this. That's what I like. That's good. The bouncing animation is good, and then we have the demo reel comes up. As soon as someone pushes the handle, I also want the whole thing to kind of wiggle a little bit. So all I need to do is bring up the scale and rotation, Shift S, set a keyframe on scale and set a keyframe on rotation. Go forward maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames, and then -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, +5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just wanted to wiggle back and forth. Let's see what it looks like. It's too subtle. Instead of -5, let's do -10. And then 5, maybe 5 frames too. So basically, I'm doing a rotation back and forth from -10 to +5 and -10 to +5. And I need to bring these keyframes closer, select all of them, and then hold down Option, bring them closer so that the wiggle is more dramatic. Yeah. And then after the +5, we do another -10, and then come back down to 0. Let's try this. Yeah, that works. We have the wiggle when someone pushes the handle. Now we not only want the wiggle, we also want the slot machine to grow bigger, like this. And then we want the slot machine to shrink down to 100%, like this. That's good. And then all I need to do is to add a easy ease, go to the graph editor, and make sure we're in the speed graph this time. Do this, change the speed graph to a curve like this. You know what? I want it to hang in the center a little bit. So that's why I need to, you know what? I need to drag this curve all the way out and then drag this curve all the way out in the speed graph. Make sure it's got the most extreme easing to it. This is extreme ease. You see in the middle here, it's like a super flat curve. So we get a very extreme easing to that curve. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that's good. We got that. Now let's preview the animation with the extra slot machine animation. We got that. Transition slot machine comes up, builds up, and then we got that. Okay, that looks good. That's it with this class. In the next class, I'm going to teach you how to animate the stars as in the secondary animation.